trending scene.
Well, hi there. I'm Jenny WOLEK with the WOLEK Group, Keller Williams Realty Advantage.
And I'm Neil Dieterle with Indie Interiors.
Welcome back to the Tulsa Scene Podcast. We are going to be talking about everything trending in Tulsa, and we're so excited to get started.
We are, this week, we're still talking about the flip of the calendar, which is so exciting for me every year. Fresh start and clean slate. And this week, we want to focus on home organization, making that functional and maybe a little bit stylish where you can work that in. So, all right, with this new year, Jenny, are you feeling that push to kind of declutter? I've heard so many people say, clients and friends lately, that the second the Christmas tree comes down, they notice every single thing that's wrong with their house. The walls are bare again, the floor space is bare, and they want to just start digging in and making their space great. So what have you been seeing with your house lately?
Actually, because we made a move toward the end of last year, we kind of did that purge and declutter gig that so many people are maybe going through right now. And yet, Neil, I already have a full garage and basement of junk. So, yes, I'm back there again. So it's so crazy how it can just pile right back up.
It does happen fast. We've said working real estate and working with any kind of client for design that we talk about a lot, you just fill up the space that you have every time. It doesn't matter how hard you try to avoid that. So the impulse always is to get rid of something, but then you know you have space to go out and buy something new and pretty, and the stuff starts coming right back in. I've
That is
I've
so
been
true. And I know in both of our professions, we get to help people buy and sell houses. So we affectionately use the term pre-pack, or the other word is called declutter. And you don't even have to be making a move to be implementing some of the things we're going to chat about today.
You don't. I think it's so important to go in and really take this, whether it's this time of year or whether you're a person who wants to wait for kind of spring cleaning or you're a fall person. It's a great thing to go in and assess your home and see what kind of storage you're using and maybe what spaces you've been missing along the way. So I'd say probably 8 times out of 10 that I stage a house for sale, or if I go in to assess something for a remodel for a design client, mostly the suggestions I make, people say, goodness, if we'd known that like 4 or 5 years ago, we never ever would be in this position of needing to sell because we were exploding out of our house. Or sometimes that people could have been, it's that you've had space, but you could have been using it in a different way. So it's all about lost time. So I would encourage everybody to stand back and take a hard look at what they have and start to make changes.
And
Getting
a
rid
tip
of
that
this.
a tip that you have taught us, Neil, is even just having our clients snap a picture of different spaces so they can see it from the eye of the camera versus what they're living in. Do you find that that's really helpful for people?
I think it is the truest and best reference point, always as a starting place. So you think about the way you sit in your living room every night. You go in, maybe you sit down on your sofa or your favorite chair, and mostly what you look at during the time period you're in that room is what's at your eye level. So I think people sort of become desensitized to their surroundings. You may be looking at what's at eye level, but you don't necessarily look up to see that you have a couple of blank spaces on a bookshelf, and you don't look down to remind yourself that, hey, I've got a cabinet over in the corner that's got some doors on it. Maybe I could be using that space behind, or even that people forget what they've stored in spaces. So it's good to stand up, you take a picture, take a hard look at the picture, and I promise, you will see things that you don't see when you're in the room. It's kind of
I'm going to add to
a
that. I'm going to add to that that even when you do this, whether you're moving or not moving, obviously it's going to make the space prettier, and that surprisingly makes you happier.
it does make you happier, and it doesn't take much of a change. I was just with a client this week, and we shifted just a side table and a chair, just literally traded places with those two things and moved one lamp. She was prepared to do a whole, I guess I shoot myself in the foot with this and clients, but she was prepared to do um, a whole, not a remodel, but a whole redecoration of that living room. We moved two pieces in a lamp, and she said, this is like a breath of fresh air. She was so happy, doesn't really want to change anything, but has decided, now you're at a place you can just add a few things. Doesn't cost a lot of money. There's small changes. So it's amazing what a little flip flop can do.
And I hear that a lot. People typically do make a move because they feel like they don't have enough storage. Of course, we want to help people make a move if they think it is the time for them, but sometimes little tweaks can really make a big difference in your house, especially in this year where maybe we were working from home and we use different spaces for different things. Have you noticed that?
I have noticed that, and it's the thing I've been talking to people most about lately. So, what we've got these two issues going on. One, people they're starting to use this multi-use space in their homes. So, what used to be just a basement in maybe a living area now is a basement, a living area, and it's an exercise room. I'm a great example of that. My office is actually in my master closet now. So instead of having a separate room, I go in and I have clothes on my left, but on my right is my desk. And I've had to figure out how to have my printer and my desk and paper and all the other things that come with work living amongst my clothes and my shoes. And it's just a different viewpoint. So we've got that issue. And then the issue of people always needing to think through optimizing their space. So it's an easy thing to look at, or more approachable, I guess, when you're building a new space or remodeling, because you really can say, here's what I need. I have this many pairs of shoes to store, or my kitchen has to hold all of these appliances plus these platters and things. So starting from scratch is one thing, and knowing what you can do with the space. But then those of us that are in spaces that you can't necessarily change, either because you don't want to spend the money or because you're kind of locked in, particularly with old homes, sometimes the space is just not available to you. So this is a neat time to look at what you really need. So I was telling you earlier, a client this week who is trying to maximize her closet space, and we took a hard look at what she needed to store and exactly the size of the things she needed to store. So we figured out, if we measured her longest pair of pants from the very bottom of the hem to the hanger, how much space we needed to hang from the floor, and then exactly how much space we needed above that for a shirt. And by getting those exact measurements and building out a closet, we were able to give her 2 additional shelves vertically to fit things like shoes and bags. And that was, it was the change of maybe 3 or 4 inches of movement, but it made all the difference in what she was able to fit in a small space. So the ideas exist. You've just got to bring someone in to look.
Okay, so you know that you have the space that you need. How do you get rid of the junk that you don't need?
That is the first step always, right? So figuring out what to get rid of. We've had that Marie Kondo conversation where does the thing bring you joy, or do you get rid of it? So first you have to decide. I think that is a great time to pull in a friend, somebody you trust who can kind of keep you on track and say, okay, do you really need this? And then you make the decision of what to get rid of. Once you have your pile of things, it's about hauling it away. And I think that got really tricky during the first period of the lockdown with COVID in 2020, that lots of lots of nonprofits in particular, who take donations of clothing and household goods, they stopped picking that stuff up or accepting it because they were trying to be safe about what they had. Now it seems like lots of those places are back to the business of doing what they were before. So there are great nonprofits in Tulsa who we can support in this way by calling Restore with Habitat for Humanity, Family and Children's Services. I think they even pick up, and vets. Of course, Goodwill. There are locations all around town where you can drop off, and that's a great way to declutter your home and still give back to the community. Obviously, it's a great tax write-off too, so lots and lots of benefits there.
I noticed when I was making a move, our moving company, Great Day Moving, we had a garage full of junk that just made put me in overwhelm every time I looked inside that garage, just the sickening feeling of how am I going to get rid of this? And they said, oh, we can take it for you. And there were things in our garage that were still in good condition. They just weren't items that we were using anymore. So the good quality things that are still usable, they would donate them to a local nonprofit. I believe it's the Demand Project. And then they would take the rest of the stuff to the dump. So you don't have to be the one that removes all of these items. You can leverage that to local companies as well.
That's fantastic. What a good idea. I think you said quality goods. I think there's always an option to go out and sell some of the things that you don't want to use, so you can put a little money back in your pocket. So Facebook Marketplace seems to be the place in Tulsa I see most of that going. And we've also got a great wealth of consignment stores in Tulsa. So for furniture, I adore Mustard Seed Consignment in London Square Shopping Center over around 61st and Lewis. They've got, it's a fun place to shop, but also a great place to put those unwanted pieces and potentially reap some of the benefits coming back to you. And it seems like, did you talk to somebody from a clothing consignment?
Yeah, yeah, and right there near the mustard seed is the Echo Shop that's been around in the Tulsa area for 3 generations now, a long time Tulsa local business, and they do a great job of consignment. So if you have nice quality of maybe name brand clothing that you don't really wear anymore, but it's hard to part with it, you can
Right.
at least take it there. If they can consign it and they can make you a little bit of money, why not go for that? And then if they can't, they will make it a donation to local nonprofits on your behalf. So that always makes my heart feel good.
Yeah, you feel a little better about buying an extra pair of shoes sometimes. I think the adult options are good in that way. And we've got lots of options that are specific to kids in Tulsa too. The Children's Closet in Midtown, there's one out south, the Children's Orchard. They both do that. And I think just many places all around the metro. So that's worth looking at for sure. I personally like the idea of getting, if you can, on some of those items, getting a little money back because any of those tweaks you want to make to your home, anything you want to go out and buy, that also makes you feel good about anything you might add. So if you're looking for storage solutions or you want to add a few things to kind of clean up your house and make you a little happier, that's a great way to rationalize it, I guess.
And Neil, I thought of another thing that some people may be struggling with. If they're listening to this, maybe they're in a different situation. A lot of times we have people who are looking to sell their home or maybe a family member's home, and there were some hoarding problems that had gone on. And recently I got to talk with Ralph with BioOne and TulsaHoarding.com, and they can actually come in and help you remove this maybe family members' items because that could be really hard in a time of crisis and sadness. So I just wanted to also mention that if that's your situation of needing to organize and clean out.
I think they're a place too, if I remember from reading that interview you did with him, that they also just help with general cleanup too. So that could be a situation where maybe you just need to have some things from your own house hauled off too, that they've got the people who can come in and help with that. So they are good people to know, to be sure.
All right. Well, I think we touched on a lot of great topics, and I'm excited to move on next week to a little different twist where we're still going to talk about things trending in Tulsa. And this time we're going to really touch on the work world in 2021 and what that can look like, whether you're still working from home and what that space is. And then also, maybe this is a new year and it's time for a new career. And so we're going to talk with our friend Carrie Baker and see if she's got some great tips for us.
Well, that sounds great. In the meantime, I hope everybody will follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Tulsa Scene. And make sure to subscribe so you get our podcast weekly every Thursday.
All right, we'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye bye.